Dating sucks for young people, man. Trying to date a young woman as a young man right now is hard unless you, like they call it the 666s. But that's like 4% of the population. That's not enough people. What the fuck are guys supposed to do? 10 young women are chasing one guy who meets that.
I'm so glad I grew up when I did.
Me too.
So glad.
Oh, we say that all the fucking time.
I would probably be riddled with anxiety and depression if I grew up in this.
We'll get into that.
This world.
We'll get into that. That's a fucked up thing. Okay, thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Redacted. We have a guest here today that works and has worked in the mental health field for a very long time, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so very much. I'm passionate about this topic.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. I have to put a little trigger warning out there, a trigger warning and a disclaimer. So we're going to be talking about things to do with mental health and maybe mental disorders and medications and things like that. So just keep in mind, obviously consult your healthcare professional. We're not offering advice in any kind of way for that. So, this is just to basically understand the experience and the story and kind of what's going on with mental health and inpatient care facilities. So, obviously take it for a grain of salt and listen, enjoy, get something out of it, but in no way medical advice.
Yes.
Yeah. Important to say. We got to.
Yes. I'm not a doctor.
No, I'm not a doctor.
Yes.
I just play one on TV sometimes.
Hey, that's all right.
Yeah. So you have quite an extensive experience working with people in the mental health field, and specifically you started working, what was it? Did you say prisons and inpatient?
Yes, I went right into the maximum security men's prison.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's like out of the frying pan and into the fire right there, isn't it?
It was a goal, and I achieved it, so I just... It's like, okay, let's do this.
So that was your first job, like out of school?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why was it a goal?
I wanted to work with, I just felt like these individuals are so fascinating. Why did you commit this crime? What was driving you? And I know all the stuff we learned in school is fine in a book, but you don't really see that when you're reading.
Yeah.
It's talking with the person, learning that person, and why are you like that? Then when you have mental illness on top of that, then it's even more fascinating.
I guess that would be, as a demographic, very rich, and in variety, because you would, comparatively, you'd probably have to say that the normal population, the normal productive population is pretty homogenous compared to what you'd see in a prison. Because, you have a huge just variety of people that have been, out of the system we're used to.
Oh, for many years.
Yeah.
And they're going to be in there for life. That's where, unfortunately, they're going to have their last breath.
Shit. So, you were in maximum security. So what was your job? You were doing mental health counseling and therapy and things like that with these inmates. This men's prison, so these guys.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, and it was, the way I would describe it is a prison within the prison. So this was something that came out of a lawsuit where there was a successful suicide the family one, and part of that was we need more mental health in the prison system. You know, the individual who passed away with a successful suicide was claiming, you know, he was depressed and nobody was talking to him. So that changed a lot within the Department of Justice also. So this was supposed to be for those who were severely mentally ill, just meaning with mood disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder. So the heavier, not personality disorders like antisocial, where our criminals are.
Yeah.
But we had a mix.
Okay. So you're taking very serious clinical mental illnesses, like medicated,
Yes.
you know, ingrained in mixing them with people that just might be a little bipolar or a little, what do they have, personality disorder a lot?
Some.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where your antisocial personality disorder, your narcissistic personality disorder, those individuals are different than the mood disordered individuals. That's a whole different type of diagnosis.
I understand.
So with the mood disorders, it's actually a chemical imbalance.
Oh, okay.
So for those, medications are very helpful for leveling out the moods.
Okay.
So when you just have a personality disorder like antisocial, narcissistic, histrionic, you're talking about people who have just had severe traumas in their lives generally. Abandonment issues, abuse, all these things, but they prey on people.
Yeah, I was going to say they're probably a little more apt to be predatory.
Absolutely, you know, and I saw that, you know, taking, you know, the individuals suffering with mood disorders, taking their commissary, writing on them, taking advantage of them sexually.
Jeez.
And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because while these individuals are there for their crimes, and regardless of your mental health, you still are responsible for your actions.
Yeah.
Nobody's excused from it.
Okay.
They definitely should not be in the same vicinity with these predators who they take advantage and lack that empathy and don't understand hurting someone.
Like that's like a level of like, there's like psychopathy is what they would call it, right? Yeah. That's where you're just unable to empathize. And
you can't relate. You don't know how to. You were never taught.
Yeah.
You didn't have.
You'll just do whatever you need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. You don't give a shit.
As long as your needs are met, nothing else matters.
Now, and just kind of I guess a question I'm wondering. I mean, there's a lot of people with psychopathic or sociopathic tendencies, right? Mm-hmm. Not all of them end up in prison. Mm-mm. You know, not a majority of them probably don't. Is there a way to treat that? Is that treatable, or is that just something you're kind of, just in your opinion? Is there a way to make them empathize or to get them to?
Well, there are some therapies that you can do. I mean, and again, there's so many different variables, but there is one therapy that is done in the prison and mostly geared more towards those that carry the diagnosis of the antisocial personality disorder, and that's MRT. It's moral recognition therapy. So it's following instructions. It's doing everything to this T and just trying to really focus on restructuring that thought process. So there are some therapies out there. You could try to address the trauma.
Yeah.
It depends on, you know, if that person wants to.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we all carry some of those traits just because, you know, some days we're like, oh, yeah, I'm looking extra good. I'm going to look at myself in the mirror every time I walk by.
Yeah.
You know, or, oh, no, I got to get my quarter back from that Aldi's cart.
Yeah.
So I think we have like little traits, but when it becomes your whole, you lack empathy, you lack compassion.
Yeah.
You can't feel anything.
Yeah.
You hurt, animals,
Yeah.
those basic.
Like Dexter.
Yeah.
Did you watch Dexter?
Love it, Dexter.
Dexter was great. Dexter was fantastic. It gave us like a hero and a psychopath. Like using
what
it
better
for the
could we get?
Yeah, like using it for the good purposes.
Yeah.
And I think you talk about people even out of prison. I mean, a lot of like high-powered CEOs and, very successful, hyper successful people could probably be psychopathic, sociopathic. Because that's how they got where they got.
Mm-hmm.
They did what they needed to do. They stepped on who they needed to step on. They didn't break any laws. They might not have hurt anybody, but they went kind of that path with it and used it.
Yeah. Just grabbing on again, having their needs met regardless.
It's like a manipulative thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And as they describe it, actually, in that MRT therapy, because it's like living in your prison, your own prison, so living in your own mind. When would you say we first learned to manipulate?
What age?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that has to be super early. Like I see my kids do it. They try to manipulate with crying and turn on fake tears. And 3?
The way the book described it, and it's not verbatim, but it's basically the gist. When we're evicted from the womb, we start manipulating.
Wow. Huh.
That's our form of communication, right?
Yeah.
Cry. Mom comes. Cry. Dad comes. Cry. This. Cry that. Cry. So we start manipulating is like one of the first behaviors.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's fucked up.
Isn't that wild?
Well, it's probably, it's good. I guess we have to have some of that.
Yeah.
They said, and I don't know if I've heard this different ways. Cats. I don't know if you've ever had cats. They say that cats meow, so they don't meow at each other. Like wild cats don't like meow at each other. They've somehow learned to meow at people, to manipulate, to get their attention, to get food, to be cute. And they said it was like emulating like babies crying, like trying to, like domesticated cats. I don't know. I heard it. I like the story. I don't know if it's true or not.
I'm trying to think about, I didn't have cats for a very long time because I was allergic. But we had a cat that adopted us when we lived in the country. And the only time she would want to be touched was when she was having kittens.
Oh, wow.
But then she wouldn't mother them. We had to force her down.
Kind of weird.
She was a mouser. She'd like to be out in the country and doing her thing. But that's the only time. But she would become chatty. And she would start, walking.
Like
with
they
the
learn to
tail back
manipulate. Like everything that has like social communication and interaction has to manipulate to some extent.
Look at dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't get the puppy eyes. Come on.
Yeah.
They know how to get
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Yes,
Little jerks. Little sociopaths.
That need a job.
So here's a weird one. Maybe I've been saying it wrong. Psychopath and sociopath. What's
the difference is,
seems like kissing cousins.
I don't really, and this is just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the same.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
psychopath sounds worse.
I think a
sociopath sounds like something people just throw around all the time, but like psychopath, it sounds like it's like Norman Bates, like psychopath.
Yes. Yeah. I was actually doing some reading because, all the definitions change all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some form of change. Like they just come out with the DSM-5 and then, oh, shocker, no, we have an update.
Yeah.
Come on. And one thing that I read, and I don't remember the source, I wish I did, was saying that they were really kind of trying to get away from the whole sociopath part. They had so many similarities.
And
so
just
I don't
go with psychopathy instead?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't remember. God, what was that? I don't know. Again, it was online, so I don't remember. I don't think it was like an APA reading or anything like that. But no, I think because they're basically the same.
Yeah. So, and then we got off track a little bit. So you were working in this facility, so within the prison, so it's a wing of the prison or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, these people were picking on the people with mood disorders, and that was kind of a mess.
It was sad.
What kind of shit would you see in there?
Well, I know the one offender, he would wake up, they drew on his face, drew a star, made all these like racial slurs and everything like on his face. And they would, make them have sex with them.
Yeah.
Again, just it's
fucked up shit.
It was very fucked up, and not understand. And that was my first job in the prison system, so I'm absorbing it all. I'm trying to figure out how it really works, and
that's a super high level too. Because then I'm thinking max security, and I mean, what would you call it? The psych ward. Man.
Yeah, but you would not learn. You can't learn that stuff in a textbook, and in no way a textbook prepares you for that.
Yeah, I guess that's a trial by fire right there.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, they probably should have done that different and had the mood people just in general population, but with medication.
No, so those most vulnerable with the mood disorders to be kind of isolated.
Okay.
The personality disorders, yeah, you guys go back with Gen Pop because that's mostly what Gen Pop is, antisocials. Yeah. So you guys go back out there. This way the vulnerable are protected.
Okay.
They're not, being prey for these individuals. They're, can, rest at night.
Yeah.
And not have to worry. And the guards do the best that they can and everything. But where there's a will, there's a way. They're going to find a way to do it. They always did. They always will. So it's just, needing, and I hope that's changed because that was brand new when I started working there. So hopefully that has evolved and it's changed and it is better now.
Yeah.
And that they really are starting to look at separating those individuals with legitimate mental illness in the prison system for that reason.
So this has to kind of make me think of that too. So you said the people with the personality disorders should have been in Gen Pop. Do you think a lot of them manipulated their way into that ward?
I'm sure.
To get it a little easier and to maybe, because they could kind of run shit there, right?
Right.
It was probably better for them.
Oh,
it's easier.
Absolutely. They were more like in dorms. So It was brand new. So I'm sure, well, that's gossip. That's like, okay, the whole prison knows everything now.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that went around, and I'm sure they used their core manipulation to be able to do whatever was required to be able to get to that new structure or that new facility for those that are mentally ill.
So in working with these people, and I guess maybe I'm more interested in the personality disorder part of it. What was kind of, I mean, and this is just in your own experience, what's kind of like a common thread? What did you see a lot in talking with these people?
Nothing was their fault.
Nothing was their fault.
There is an excuse for everything.
So that's a common thread.
Yeah.
And then if you go into, how they grew up and maybe what kind of trauma they experienced, what's a common thread there? Did you see patterns?
Abandonment.
Okay.
Abandonment is a big one, and abuse.
Physical,
emotional,
sexual,
physical, or
emotional.
sexual. Yeah. any kind of abuse.
When you're a kid, yeah.
The neighborhood, the environment you grow up in. If you're born into this neighborhood that's, always on the news because there's guns and drive-bys and all of that, all these things are instilled at a young age. So there's, many different things that play into that. But I think a lot of times we forget how important the environment is and the effect our environment has on us also.
Yeah. I guess there's a picture you can paint with that. Like bad neighborhood, abused growing up, maybe abandonment issues, shit like that. So that's maybe one. Is there like another level of like educated, good family, rich people that you came across?
Teflon. I call those Teflon people.
Teflon people.
Everything slides right off. So they've never had to be accountable for anything. So there is
same problem, same common thread. Not my fault, not accountable.
Right, because
in some way
we're talking about status now, CEOs, education and all of that. Mom and dad have always covered everything up.
Yeah. Okay.
My kid didn't do that. My kid would not do that. Well, here, no, let me just write a check. And so where's the accountability?
Yeah.
So there's no accountability. So how do you learn anything is your fault? How do you learn that right from wrong, I guess?
That's kind of there's a fucked up dichotomy in that, because you're talking about the two extremes, both forming a fucking personality disorder in somebody. Like one family tried too hard to take care of the kid and did too much and didn't let them fail and didn't let them own up to whatever they did, stroke the check, made the phone call. So you'd think that's good parenting. Maybe they thought they were doing a good job. But then you raise this psychopath. And then on the other side, the neglect is obvious. I think we see that.
Yeah.
I think we could understand that. I think most people would agree.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one, you're talking about like the Teflon people. That's a sneaky one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sneaky one.
And you see it. You see it. I've worked with individuals like that in mental health.
Yeah.
Who, in supervisor roles do whatever because
no accountability.
Director of this department.
No accountability.
I don't do anything wrong.
They're like their own little psychopath.
Narcissistic.
Yeah. What do they call that? They call that the dark triad or something. It's like a Machiavellian principle, like a narcissistic, psychopathic. Might be another one in there. I don't know. I've heard it.
But yeah, it's I'm telling you, there's some characters and it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah. And I mean, what do you think is the breakdown that's led to a lot of that? I mean, are we rewarding psychopaths? Are we? I mean, if you're talking about a good part of the prison population of this max is probably suffering with this in some way.
Yeah. There's, because you have so many different types of crimes. Yeah. So, where are we, which crime base are we looking at? Yeah.
Like a productive redirect, like kind of what we were talking about before. Like the military. The military has a lot of that. Like I was in it. It has a lot of people that are probably pretty aggressive, but it's like a useful redirect. If you can take that, aggression and use it for good, what else is there? Not fearing bodily harm, I'm sure that's kind of somewhere in there. And we all had that to some extent because we signed up to go to war.
And that's in ourselves, fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
In those situations. also. So we have part of us that's naturally going to take a role in that. And then depending on, like you're saying, with the training and stuff, you're trained to do that.
Yeah.
You're trained to be aggressive for that situation.
Yeah.
To be able to separate it. And some people get lost in that.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of people that I just came across in the military that, you know, they came from neglectful. Like a lot of people came from the more neglectful side, not the privileged side. But, you know, that were able to really turn that energy and turn their lives around and do something great with it. And then they either make a career out of it or they retire. And now that they have confidence and skills and, you know, like kind of a moral compass on things, that seems to be like a productive way, but everyone can't go in the military. You know, maybe sports is a good redirect into
absolutely
aggressive energy.
And that's, well, something that's up and coming now, rage rooms.
Rage rooms. What the fuck is a rage room?
It's, you go to this room and there's random stuff in there. You can use like a bat, a golf club, there's hammers, sledgehammer. And you just go in there and you just break the hell out of shit.
Yeah.
Talk about a release.
Yeah.
Talk about a release. Now tell me that, well, I know I felt the therapeutic value.
So you did it.
I did, yes. Oh, yes, I did. I brought a group of us.
I want an old copier, like Office Space. Or was that Office Space? Yeah, that was Office Space. The old copier they had.
Just smack it. I'm telling you. There's therapeutic value in that.
Yeah.
And getting that rage, that anger out, because if we don't do that, you know, it's bad for our health.
Yeah.
A heart attack, a stroke. But where's that anger coming from? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
Yeah.
That anger generally comes from fear, the unknown,
anxiety.
Absolutely.
Fearing something that's not there, right?
Right. And that's where we get in our cognitive distortions, and we have to start understanding that, you know, it's not just mumbo jumbo that we talk about. They're real things.
Yeah.
You know, what are we doing? Well, yeah, I catastrophize everything.
Yeah.
I think, oh, no, this is going to be horrible. I have no reason to base it on.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a mind reader. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Always know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We have to think about it, you know.
What do they call that? Like making general statements on stuff. Like bad shit always happens to me. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There's
never works out. And I always have bad luck, and kind of just making these like grand statements towards shit. And you see a lot of people do that.
It is. And that's one of the things when I start working with individuals is I introduce them to cognitive distortions, because I think we have to understand how we're thinking. We're upset, we have anxiety, we have depression. We're in one of these cognitive distortions in here. We're in one of them. Something's looping, you know, and like, whoa, well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm an always and never. No,
Always and nevers. Yep.
Say those words.
Yep.
You know, you're overgeneralizing things. You're minimizing, you're maximizing. We said catastrophizing, mind reading, jumping to conclusions. I mean, we do these things and we don't even know that we're doing it. And we're just so conditioned. So we have to, okay, stop. Okay, where's this anxiety coming from? I'm just going to do horrible. Okay, why are you going to do horrible? You know, and you start, okay, now you're really starting to catastrophize. Why? What are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to do well. Okay, there you have it. You do well, awesome. If you don't, you try again.
So it's like, and to kind of jump from that too. I mean, if you're talking about like anxiety, you know, anxiety and kind of depression and compulsions, aren't those all kind of the same family, so to speak? Like anxiety and depression are not the same thing, but they're really close, and one usually leads to the other.
Well, they're usually intertwined.
Yeah.
Generally, if you're giving a diagnosis of anxiety, depression, they're a package deal.
Yeah.
And they can play off of each other, you know. Breaking it apart, yes, they can be two separate entities also.
Yeah.
With that. So then you have like your OCD and your stuff that comes with the anxiety portion of it, where you just, you can't rest. Something's not in order. Something's not right. And you just can't sit still. And then some things can grow into compulsions where, you know, some people pica, where you eat random objects. You know, I can't remember the one with the hair.
Anorexia, bulimia, we just interviewed somebody with anorexia, and I learned a whole bunch of things I didn't.
Control.
Yeah.
It's about control. You feel you have no control over anything else in your life.
But you can control
I
that.
can control what I put in and what I make come out of my body.
So I guess the weird thing is, just in my kind of age group and in my observations of people I'm seeing, especially younger people coming up, it's like everyone has anxiety.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And it's not something that's new. Anxiety's not new. I mean, the ancient Greeks had a word for it. And I was reading about like mental health history like a long time ago. And it comes from the word anxios, which means to choke. Yeah.
So what does the anxiety feel like?
To like choke from within. Yeah. Like they had that word then. So it's not like a new thing in the human condition. And that's part of that fight or flight.
Yes.
Where anxiety comes from. But it seems like to some extent, like, okay, it's good to have your fight or flight in our lizard brain.
Right.
In our caveman brain. Yes. Like, I walk past a cave and a bear jumps out. Now I need to be worried when I walk past caves. I need to be a little amped up. I need the adrenaline. I need the stress chemicals because I might have to fucking run.
Yes.
You know? But we don't have caves and bears anymore. And it's like that. What is that? Your hypothalamus?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like all mistuned. And especially with the generation a little younger than I am. Why? Why are they so whacked with that?
Well, that just break down to think about the differences just between, you know, them growing up now and the way we grew up.
Yeah. I feel bad for them.
How could we have anxiety? We had to be outside playing all day.
Yeah. Well, we had like normal probably anxiety, like, oh, I got to pass a test.
Exactly.
And then you resolve it. Like you get anxious about passing a test, and then you take the test, and then the anxiety resolves. Mm-hmm. Like there's a reason. Like it's okay. It's okay to be a little worried or a little hyped about something. That's normal.
Should be.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
But to just be like anxious for nothing. And their lives, our lives, just even the last 20 years, have become so much more exponentially comfortable. You know, we know everything. We have phones on us to call for. We're never abandoned or trapped.
Right.
Like, what the hell did we do 20 years ago? Like, you had to go to a payphone and remember a number.
Yes.
You know, it was weird. Or to like drive somewhere. You might get fucking lost and end up in another state because you fucking didn't have the map.
McNally's
right. The McNally fucking turned the right way. So now everything's so laid out. It's so easy. There's not a lot of challenge.
So when we are presented with a challenge, we don't know how to manage it.
Yeah.
Everything is so accessible. You know, computers,
information. Just information.
Overload. Our eyes are the first to process information. And think about what your eyes process.
Yeah.
And it's going. So your brain is firing off from the time you wake up all day long. And you're just processing stuff and, we're going and now, okay, we have this laid out and this laid out and we have this. Okay. And we have to do this. And now, now that the kids have this after school and then that after school on this day and that day and this day and that day. And it's almost like,
Yeah.
Is it have to have it?
Is it like trying to be perfect? Like a lot of chasing perfection?
I'm sure for some that's still going to ring. I don't think that's ever going to go anywhere where, keeping up with the Joneses, I think that's always going to be out there. So like, my kid's doing this and my kid's going to this school and they scored this on their SATs or whatnot. But, I'm sure that's going to always go on in some social circles.
Yeah.
More than others.
I mean, and that seemed to be something that was always there. I'm kind of like, I'm like looking at new things. I'm like, what's the new thing? What's going to be our big fucking problem in 5, 10, 20 years with that? And the thing I can't quite wrap my head around is just like, the new anxiety. And it's, did we shield kids too much? Did we shield them from failing? Did we shield them from danger? Did we shield them too much to where they don't know how to handle anything now? Their hypothalamus isn't fucking tuned.
Well, it's, again,
because it's new. I never saw so many young people with this shit.
I don't remember anybody having anxiety when I was like in high school or anything.
Like chronic. I guess you'd say it's chronic. It's chronic and it's over nothing. Like there's no bear. Right. There's no bear. But your brain keeps telling you there's a bear, which is just humping stress chemicals, sending you into substance abuse and drugs and shit like that. And it's like this, it's almost like this shutdown anxiety where people just...
Anxiety.
They just avoid.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many, and it's ramping up, just like people cancel things just all the time or just ghost you. Like I'll have work, like employees for my business that would just shut down and ghost and not pick up the phone. Like younger people. And it's like this weird, like they can't handle anything. Like when something actually comes up for like a confrontation, they just completely...
They don't have the skills.
Yeah.
It's like when we're not taught how to deal with, failure, rejection. These are things that are going to go on throughout our lives. I mean, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to fail. I fail so many times a day.
Yeah. And you're going to get into a confrontation and you're going to lose sometimes.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
That's what...
Like get in a disagreement and be like, yeah, okay. And you make your point and then they make their point. And you're like, oh man, I fucking lost that one.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, they were right.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
Would that fall under...
People don't do that.
No. They have to be, no, I'm right.
Yeah.
I am right. You're not going to... Nope.
Like scared of it. And they would just rather shut down than bother.
Look, if we're having a debate on something and we're having a rock star conversation about it, I have no problem. I'll respect your point of view.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's okay. I mean, if we all thought the same, it'd be so dang boring.
Oh, yeah. Homogenous.
Could you imagine?
Yeah. That would... As long as everyone doesn't think like me, that would be really bad.
That could be scary, but...
Yeah. No, I don't want to think about that. I need balance.
Yeah.
My wife balances me.
Yes.
There's good balance. It's yin and yang, right?
Yep. That's how it is.
Yeah. But just... Anxiety, and especially after COVID. Like COVID just ramped everyone the fuck up. Like...
Well, it kept everybody isolated.
Yeah.
It instilled fear. So, of course, people wanted to isolate, and then everything became accessible. Your laundry could be picked up, your groceries could be dropped off, your booze, your liquor, your drugs.
The home delivery stuff is, I
mean,
I see that. You don't have to go interact.
You don't. So
No.
now people are doing everything behind a computer screen. And when they go out, it's like seeing more social anxieties.
What do they call
Like
that? Agoraphobic? Is that agoraphobic?
That's when you're afraid to leave your house, period. But like,
I'm sure that's ramped up after COVID, big time. You probably quadrupled the amount of agoraphobes, if not
give
more.
them a reason to leave.
Yeah.
What's the reason to leave? There's not.
Yeah.
And then by the time it comes to happen, it was that movie Sigourney Weaver, I think. She did a movie years ago, and I believe she was agoraphobic in that movie.
Oh, I didn't
can't remember the name of it. But that so starting with the isolation with the kids, you going to school, you're not going to school. Here we're going to school. Okay, not all kids can have computers. What are we going to do with that? I remember where I was living in Washington, at one of the park and rides, they had a mobile Wi-Fi. So the families in the rural areas could bring their kids so they could connect to the Wi-Fi so they could do their schooling. Okay, now the kids are in school. They're out of school. They're being schooled at home. They're doing this. So they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And kids need routine. If kids don't have routine, then anxiety, and we have all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
And so the younger kids were thrown out of whack. I mean, and it just kind of snowballed. You're stuck at home. What do you do?
Yeah.
You lose some social skills.
I felt horrible for the teenage kids through that. Maybe 6th grade through, senior year in high school.
Yeah.
That had to fucking hit hard, especially in the bad states with the bad lockdowns. Mm-hmm. That had to hit hard.
It was.
What's so fucked up is those people weren't in danger.
It was that fear that was instilled.
But they were just, and I can't imagine just there's this invisible thing outside that could kill me.
Yeah.
And just being so concerned because they hyped that so hard, and it's almost like they played to our fears. I mean, the media does that anyway. That's how they get. Yeah. That's how they get eyeballs.
Well, yeah.
That's how social media. That's how you get eyeballs. You get eyeballs with fear.
So think about it. Every time you turn on the news, we start our day off traumatizing ourselves.
Yeah, right. That is true.
Really?
You want to turn on the evening traumatization? Yeah.
What's headlining tonight?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you need to worry about now?
I know. It's like, I don't know why I do this to myself, but.
I like the weird scam ones, all the weird scams that they always put on the news and social media. And it's like, don't ever give your telephone area code over the phone number because somebody's going to steal your voice and kill your dog. It's like these really weird. I'm like, Jesus, I got to worry about this now.
I don't
pay attention.
No. And it's overload.
It is.
It's overload. It's like, we need to make things simple again.
Yeah.
We need to slow down.
And I feel like we're safer than ever with technology. Everyone's house has a camera. Everyone's cell phone can be tracked. I really feel like that has just, we're probably the safest we've been.
And
we're more scared than ever about even kids, raising kids, right? And I find myself a little, I don't know, doing this myself, but we're worried that they're going to get abducted or something all the time. That's the biggest fear.
Yeah.
But then we have the Amber Alert system, right? One, which is a great tool.
Absolutely.
But two, the last fucking 20 Amber Alerts I've gotten have been one of the parents in a custody dispute.
Yeah.
So it's okay, our kids getting snatched off the streets. Probably not as much as you think they are. But it's an anxiety thing. We're scared of something that's probably not going to happen. Not saying don't take precautions, not saying don't be safe, not saying don't be smart. But, I mean, the kids kind of suffer on that one too. Because we used to just get let out the door.
Bye.
Yeah, come home when the streetlights are on.
Yep.
And there was probably way more kidnappings then. There was probably way more sexual assaults on children then. And child molesters. We just didn't know about it as much.
We only had what? NBC, CBS, and ABC News?
Oh, yeah.
And no social media.
There wasn't all this fear propaganda all the time. Like, oh, my God. You know, like some kid in Canada got stole off their front lawn 5 years ago. Okay, that's not saying it can't and doesn't happen, but it's so,
it's
you know, that's got to be like a mental health thing. Like, this is so rare. Why are you worried about this? Like veterans who used to have PTSD, I remembered talking with people and stuff like that after we came back from Afghanistan and talking with other war vets. And they're like, yeah, you know, one of the terrorists or Al-Qaeda from over there could track me down in my house and, you know, kill me. Or like if I'm out at a restaurant and they know me and, you know, I'm going to get attacked or my family's going to get attacked. It's like an irrational fear of something that's most likely not going to happen. I mean, that's way off there. So how do we deal with that kind of stuff too? Is it like,
well, you have to backtrack. When did you first feel that irrational fear? The very, very first time, and not talking in that particular moment between 8:07 and 8:10.
What made you feel it?
When was the very first time you felt that? If this wasn't the first time, when was the very first time? How old were you that very first time? Because it could just be a trigger response also. So thinking about when you very, very first felt that uncomfortableness, what was going on at that time? So
for a parent, projecting one of their problems onto their kids is kind of what we're talking about. And that parent maybe has that irrational fear, that irrational problem, and they've projected that onto their kids.
Unfortunately. And coming from a good place, I'm sure. I mean, I don't have kids, but I'm sure coming from a good place. They don't want them to
have that. They don't want to put them through that. Yeah.
Right.
I get that. But it's probably like we're talking about getting abducted. Like if I talk to 10 parents my age, 5 of them are probably horribly worried about that. They're not worried about car accidents, which is the most likely way to get hurt or die, you know.
Well, it's something that the severity of it is so much grander.
Yeah.
Or in that mindset.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah. That would be way more horrible of a thought.
Right. So that's...
to think of them being murdered versus a car accident. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that play into factor on that stuff too, you know.
But like if I talk to those 10 parents and 5 of them are worried, I mean, I think they just got fucking traumatized by news information.
Well, when we see it
so how the fuck do you address that?
Repeatedly.
Go back to the first time you've watched the news and write about it.
Right. As my brother says, I just don't watch the news. He has this place he goes to get the highlights, and that's it. Yeah. He's like, I don't do that. He's like, I don't start my day like that.
That's smart.
I'm like, okay, kid. I probably should do the same, you know? And when we do it. But if it's around us all the time, you would think we would eventually desensitize from it.
Yeah.
But we haven't gotten there yet.
I feel like I kind of did. Like maybe I paid more attention to it as it started ramping up and political news and all that crap.
Well,
and now I'm like,
everything.
Now I'm like, who cares, man?
Yeah.
Like you just kind of.
Is it worth it?
No, because once again, you're sitting there worrying about something that you have zero control over.
Bingo.
And is probably not going to happen. Like the world's going to end because Hulk Hogan's going to get elected president. Well, 1, probably not. And 2, probably not. And even if it does, you ain't going to stop it. So why the hell are you worried about it?
Right. Right. And
but that's a big thing in mental health, isn't it? Control. Yeah.
It is. And it's a conversation that I've had with clients, whether it be in the prison, in the hospital, or in the community. What evidence do you have to support that thought? What concrete evidence do you have to support that? Well, I was feeling, okay, a feeling isn't evidence. We have to think about it, but it's putting your thoughts on trial.
Exactly.
What do we have to balance this out? And in that, taking that moment to pause, to distract ourselves from that anxiety, because now you're trying to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe. So
you have to convince yourself that it's not
just
true.
Have that internal dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, this is an irrational thought. Like going on a roller coaster ride, we'll just say, oh my God, I'm going to be the one. It's going to get stuck. I'm going to be stuck upside down. And I'm all anxious and I'm sweaty. I'm like a butterfly.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a game. Okay. So realistically, how many
what are your odds?
Right. It's like, okay, I know this isn't going to nothing's really going to happen. But that becomes so I've made it into like a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I psych myself out right before I get on the ride where I'm like, no, I can't do this. And it's like, the fuck you can't get your ass on that roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And do it. And it's fun. But so we have to weigh out what's logical and what's not logical.
It's like fear is so illogical itself. Like I have a friend and he's a very logical, and he doesn't listen to the podcast anyway, so I'll talk about him. He's a very logical man, smart, intelligent, and he's scared of lightning like you wouldn't believe. Like if he hears lightning, he like runs to the center of whatever house he's in.
Wow.
Like in the house, he's scared of lightning. It's not just like outside in a field with a metal pole in your hand, like the dude's scared in the house. And I was like, man, buddy, they literally use this as this is like a turn of phrase. Like you're more likely to get struck by lightning. It's literally that improbable.
But he has that fear, huh?
Yeah. It's like even when you realize it, you almost can't help it. But I guess that's not something you're going to like try to work on. Like you're not going to go to therapy. Like I want to be less scared of lightning.
Yeah, I don't. Some stuff like that. I don't know. That just reminds me. My grandmother. If it was thunder and lightning outside, we couldn't be on the phone. We couldn't have the water going. Like we couldn't take a shower, wash the dishes, or anything like that.
Well, okay. And then there was someone who was sitting on their toilet. I saw this. You could look it up. It's out there somewhere. Someone was sitting on their toilet and lightning struck, hit some water pipe or whatever, and like split the toilet. Like the whole ceramic bowl just went.
No.
So it's like, all right, well.
That I could understand.
If it's your time, that's one of those moments.
Right. And how few? One in how many?
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
You can't just go on worrying about everything.
Yeah.
I guess you got to make that determination. Like, is it worth it to keep worrying about the shit? And what is it keeping me from doing?
And I know just myself, I have that internal battle all the time with myself because I do run on the anxious side. But so I have this dialogue. It's like, Lisa, okay, what is going on? And, and like, okay, you have absolutely no reason to have that thought. Okay, where did you even come up with that? And then it's like, okay, jam up the tunes or whatever. But we have to be okay with talking to ourselves, having that internal dialogue to have these conversations so we can figure out, is this rational or is this irrational?
Yeah. Is
this logical or nonsensical? Like, what's going on here? And it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
If it's 5 minutes, have at it.
Yeah.
And trying to teach people that's okay to do also is because everybody's so rush nowadays too, which I think contributes to the anxiety. We have to rush and go here and we have to rush and go there. And no, we got to get this one to ball practice and that one's got to go here. And then we have to get the dog to the vet. And like, I think everybody's lives are so busy.
You'd see that. Oh, see, that's a weird one for me. I feel like certain groups of people are very busy, like parents, young kids, activities, working. There's that demographic, definitely. But I feel like, and this is just anecdotal, but I feel like everyone else is kind of less busy, like not busy enough. Like young people, like a lot of them, full-time job numbers are way down. Young people in the workforce is way down. And then with all the, order your groceries, order this, order that. I feel like a lot of people are just sitting in their house scrolling their phone.
Phones and
just
the whole
sitting on the device. It's a weird thought, but I feel like people were busier like 20 years ago. Like real busy. And then like technology didn't make your life as easy. So you had to like go do stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It seems like rush. Like that's the cliche that we think of as this rush, rush, rush. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I see a lot of people just sitting in pajamas scrolling their phone. I mean, I do it.
Oh,
not a lot, but enough.
I do my share for sure. That's, succumbing to technology and where it's taking us and everything. And, but, people get caught in that, and that it does like become an addiction in and of itself.
Yeah.
You got these, you're firing off your brain's like, ooh, and it's like the worst thing to do is to be on your phone before you go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
we all do that one.
Sleep disturbances, which that can lead to, anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
If we're not getting enough rest. And people's like, what does your sleep hygiene look like?
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And
I've heard that with mental health, sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
So what is that? It's
basically just trying to have the same routine nightly. So and everybody's different, what they recommend, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. But each person is different. But kind of having, the same routine before you go to bed. Like maybe you take the dog for a walk. You clean up, you get your jammies on, you read for a half hour, you turn everything off and you go to sleep.
Okay.
So in getting yourself into that routine and, waking up at the same time. So trying to keep that as steady as possible can help us, because there's calmness in our routine. So if we know we're going to go to bed and this is what our nightly routine is going to look like, we'll become calmer getting towards that, because we know that's routine. We know that's how it's going to work. I'm going to put my jammies on. I'm going to get my book. I'm going to read for a half hour and I'm going to drift off to sleep. That having that routine is very important. And because that sleep hygiene, if we neglect our hygiene, like if we don't go to the dentist, we start to decay.
Yeah.
And then, our brain's not getting the rest that it needs. And while, again, if some people need 4 hours of sleep a night, that's fine. But, we're not getting that rest. So
just having a routine to it.
Absolutely.
Is the important part.
Yeah. And maintaining it. So we have to take care of it daily. We should take care of it. We should try to develop and not have it be stressful. Like just something you enjoy before you maybe practice some mindfulness before you go to bed. Have some lavender, pillow spray, as you're reading. And so you have that helps the senses. And then you have this pleasantness, this calmness that comes over you.
Sounds nice. Pillow spray, lavender pillow spray. That just made me like a little relaxed and tired just hearing that.
See? The power of suggestion.
Yeah, that's true. I had a friend, sleep hygiene, so he was suffering probably from a little anxiety and alcoholism. Mm-hmm. and he got suggested to buy like old school pajamas, like Ebenezer Scrooge pajamas. I think
Like
he
onesies?
described them as. No, like the stripe, like old man pajamas.
Gotcha.
And he like puts them on at the same time and like built a routine. But that tremendously helped him, is taking little steps like that.
It is to build that routine. It does take a long time to build a routine, and we can fall out of it, just like that. So easy. But once we do that and we have that, it's our bodies feel better. Our mind is rested. Our moods aren't as like, you've seen that thing, you just don't get a night's sleep and one thing doesn't work and you're just like angry at the whole world.
Yeah. Well, speaking of sleep, and this is probably somewhere in mental health and comfort, but this was a weird one. I was talking about this the other day with somebody, but we have $100 pillows now and $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 beds. And we have sleep watches, track your sleep. And people are measuring, how good a sleep did I get?
How many times did I snore and fart?
Sleep apnea mask, and they have mouth tape, and they have melatonin and all this sleep stuff. It's are we obsessed with it a little bit too? And the mattresses. Okay. 70 years ago, people just slept on an old mattress.
For years.
With just a cotton pillow. And they didn't worry about it too much. And now as I get older, I need more pillows. I need more better pillows. Yeah. My fucking arm falls asleep and shit. Why the fuck did my arm fall?
Adjustable beds. That's all.
Well, that's the next step. So I turned 38 years old and all of a sudden my shoulder just falls asleep all the time. It was my 38th birthday present at some point. And it's just been asleep every time since. I have to do nerve stretches.
Acupuncturist and get that nerve taken care of.
How the fuck did people deal with sleep 50 years? I have to talk to somebody who's 80 or 90. I bet they still sleep with just a regular mattress and a pillow, and they're not worried about it.
My mom still has this. I don't even know how long she's had this bed for, but I love going there and because it hugs you when you get in it.
It's an old bed?
Yes. And it just fits you. It's like a glove.
I think they just dealt with it. They just dealt with whatever mattress they had.
Yeah. You didn't have all these options nowadays.
We're
it's
sleeping
going
worse.
to buy a new car.
And we're sleeping worse. Somehow with all this shit. I swear I've been looking at this and now I've been getting ads for this fucking thing because of my stupid sleepy arm, because I'm a side sleeper. So I get an hour and then it's numb, and then I get a flip and then it's numb. And I almost bought this horrible contraption of it's a $300 pillow with a slit in it for your arm that goes underneath.
I didn't know they made those.
They do. I found out. And now, targeted ads want to keep telling me over and over again that they do exist. I keep looking at them oh, fuck. But what the hell happened? We have so many options. They got sleep meditation apps. They got
let's think
everything.
Let's think about anxiety. Too many choices.
Too many choices.
Too many choices.
Thinking about it too much.
I just need to get yellow mustard.
Yeah.
I don't need to sit there for 5 minutes because there's 50 different kinds of yellow mustard.
You want the 5-star mustard. It needs to be the most highly rated mustard.
The one that comes in a barrel. Is that one?
I don't know. Plochmans.
Just go for French's.
I don't think it matters.
Yellow mustard. That's it. It's too many choices.
Yeah.
We're presented with too many choices, and that brings anxiety.
Like a toothbrush. Go try to buy a toothbrush on Amazon. It'll take you a half hour.
Yes.
And you'll end up buying something for $400. Because we want to have.
And then you won't be able to find the replacement.
Yeah, no.
So then you got to buy the whole thing over again anyway. So what difference does it make?
Start all over.
And there's the anger.
Yeah, our toothbrush budget is it's going through the roof.
Because we must use the electric now.
The pursuit of perfection is Yeah.
It's a thing.
I think that's making us mentally ill in some weird way.
Well, it's definitely causing
like obsession with that.
Well, and I wasn't all about going to see Barbie when it came out. I was like, go see that.
Okay.
But then I kept hearing reviews that it was very much like empowering. And so I'm like, okay, let me check this out then. In the beginning, and I'm like, I'm not all down for a musical.
Yeah.
But then as it started going through, there were some really good points that were made as far as relationships, like with Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
You know, Ken never felt like he was good enough, but Barbie never paid attention to him. I can do everything myself. And then just breaking it down. And that was a movie that had a lot of lessons in there. So definitely not the stereotype that I fell into when it first came out. I was like, I grew up playing Barbies. What am I going to watch this movie? But the things that they talked about, thought patterns, it was really, I do suggest it being watched because there are some very good basic fundamentals of psychology that are even in that. And, that phrase, perfection, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. And we have to give ourselves a break on that. We're flawed. I like to tell clients, we're perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
We really are. And there's nothing
You're full of snakes.
That.
I'm full of snakes.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got to accept that. A lot of it's acceptance too. Just like the control thing, not trying to control. And it fucks you up trying to. Like fucking sleepwatches, man.
I refuse.
You know what? I found it was fucking me up. A sleepwatch was fucking me up because I'd get like my sleep score and be like 56.
And then you're upset with yourself.
And then I'm like, man, I guess I am a little tired. Like we're obsessed with like 8 hours and it has to be the most perfect sleep and I can't feel good unless I get it. But if you didn't know how much you slept and you didn't worry about it too much and you just slept and then woke up.
Right. When you get that sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
You won't have to worry.
You don't have to think.
About that so
You're like, I slept. That's what I slept.
Exactly.
And even if the hours are a little off. Okay, maybe I only got 6. Who cares?
Right. Your body might not need. Some nights it might be 10.
Yeah.
Some might be 5 or 6. But as long as we make time for that, it's important. And we lose sight of gotta stop making it so complicated. Just break it down and keep it simple and understand that whatever it is still going to be there.
Yeah. Acceptance. Dealing with a little stoicism.
Right.
So, we talked about that. I guess another kind of thought is, so as a mental health professional, where do you see, I guess, mental health going, and kind of, I guess, pharmaceutical companies seem to be a big part of it. And I feel like there's a fucking crisis brewing in there somewhere.
I agree. I'm not a big pharma person myself. However, I do understand that for, let's say, the mood disorders, where it is a legitimate chemical imbalance in the brain, we might need, a medication to help even it out.
Like depression,
anxiety, depression. Yep. We're talking about carrying the diagnosis of schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder.
Those are all mood disorders.
Correct. Okay. And that's legitimate. It's a chemical imbalance. So we do need to have something to help with that. Even with depression, it is the chemical in our brain, but we don't have to be on the antidepressants forever.
See, I've heard terrible things about like SSRIs.
It's God, medications, just give it time. I mean, how long Johnson & Johnson baby powder, and now there's class action suits. So who knows in 30 years.
Oh, and every other fucking thing. The opioids.
These are going to, be. I know they were tying depression. I just watching some documentary. They were tying depression to birth control pills.
Really? Yeah.
Playing with hormones. Hello.
You start fucking around with too much.
Like we don't know enough.
We don't know.
We don't know enough. We don't. And if I've had clients before who are a little, who've been on the paranoid side. I've been like, well, I don't want to take that drug. And because I saw the commercial and I did research and all the side effects and like, you're 100% right. Your concerns are legitimate. It was like, because nowadays, if you look at it, the side effects portion is longer than the talking about the medication that they're trying to sell. Like, they just have to cover their asses. So they're going to list every single side effect, blah, 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 blah. But we still don't know the long term effects of what these could do. And now there's not enough. So we have, but again, I'm not on the medical side, just in knowing what I know about the medications my clients and my patients have worked with. Yeah. Some of them need to be monitored for, I think, you have to get blood levels checked for some of them. There's certain things. And when you stick to what the treatment plan actually says and follow it, the medications and the behavioral health therapy hand in hand.
Yeah.
They've got to go together.
I've heard that before. And unfortunately, you see like regular doctors, like your GP, writing people prescriptions for Zoloft and shit. Man.
Like candy. Gabapentin now too is handed out like Pez's.
Like, from what I understand, when you're taking these powerful psychoactive chemicals, you need therapy to go along with it, because your brain's now kind of rewiring, right? Mm-hmm. That's changing and balancing out some things. And you need that therapy to go along with it. Mm-hmm. And then eventually the goal is you don't need it, not to stay on it forever. Like, get good habits and then get off. Exactly.
It's like using the tools together.
Yeah.
And when we have that good mixture, and we are doing it together properly as prescribed, being honest with our therapist, making the progress, changing the behaviors, changing the thought process to a healthier one, reframing those negative thoughts to the positive, we can maybe start to wean ourselves off of the antidepressants. Now, unfortunately, that may not be all the time. Some people may just have that chemical imbalance, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
It's okay if we need to go on antidepressants because we just had a huge loss in our family or in our life period. It doesn't have to be forever either. Mm-hmm. So, but the talk therapy is very key. And
shouldn't that be number one?
It should be number one. Yeah. It should be number one.
Because I feel like we're too easy to just script.
Well, yeah. Well,
there you go.
And that's just, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, that's because insurance companies don't want to pay for the long-term psychotherapy. So here's a pill to make you feel better.
Yeah, the pill's cheaper.
Yeah. Than the long-term, which could take years to go through trauma, which could take years, depending on what the person has going on in their lives, their trauma, their present relationship, what a myriad of things. They don't want to do that.
No.
They want the quick fix. They want a bill. We're told, it's ingrained in our heads, you do not make a diagnosis the first session. You do not make a diagnosis. You do not make a diagnosis. If you want to get paid,
you make a diagnosis.
You better make that goddamn diagnosis, or the insurance company's not going to give you a penny.
Yeah.
Where's the patient-centered care?
Well, insurance fucked that up everywhere.
Very much so.
I mean, insurance.
Very much so.
All insurance is fucked. Prices are all out of whack because of insurance. And then the person using the product has no say-so on the cost of the product. And then somebody else is paying for it in an office somewhere.
Yeah.
That's nowhere in the doctor-patient relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And they're deciding, making decisions on your health care, mental health care, whatever it is. That's a fuck thing.
It's absolutely. And I worked with a community-based service, and we got referrals from the insurance company for individuals, Medicare, Medicaid, who qualified for certain programs, which were great. But, you know, the guidelines to get paid, are you trying to help people?
Yeah.
Like, you're almost saying, like, hi, here is this, but, oh, we can't quite have it yet because you just didn't complete this one little thing. It's like, okay, these people legitimately need help.
Yeah.
You know, they're not working with wraparound community services for no reason.
Yeah.
They're trying, you know, to get out of the system that they're just stuck in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and it's sad to see in especially our depressed counties and our depressed areas.
You know, I saw something once. I mean, depressed counties, depressed areas, you're talking about financial.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something once. I don't know if it was in, what was that? Was that Hector in the Pursuit of Happiness or something? It was
Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness?
No. I don't know. It was a great movie. It was about a psychologist. No, a psychiatrist. It was a psychiatrist who was treating patients and rich, wealthy patients. And he just kept having them for years and years and years and years. It's a great movie because he'd have the same patients with the same problem. They weren't getting any better. So he decided, what's the key to happiness? And he went on a little journey for it. And I think there's a book written about it, too.
Sounds familiar.
Hector. I don't know if you put in Hector.
It'll pop up on the phone.
It'll pop up on the phone. See, this
We're good.
But one of the things someone said in that movie, they were explaining why all these people are unhappy. And it says the richer the zip code, the more shrinks there are. That's fucked up. Probably true.
You know, and that's a whole... Because I've worked in private practice briefly, very briefly. It just wasn't the structure for me.
Yeah.
I need more structure.
Yeah.
I'm not good with managing that time. And I guess probably coming just from the background and working in the community, you know, to have young, you know, clients who, you know, want to continue coming, but they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Their insurance won't cover it. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's like, let me try to, you know, can I, you know, I can get you a free session, you know, and I'm trying to work, you know, and it comes down to now you can't afford mental health care.
That's fucked up.
And
there's definitely a breakdown in that.
It's got to be accessible for everyone. And yeah,
like
you can
we're talking about it more than ever.
Thank goodness.
But almost doing less than ever. Like it's actual steps. It's like everyone likes to talk about it. Like, let's talk about mental health. And the destigmatization is good. I think that's been a great thing of getting people to be able to like come forward.
Absolutely.
And be like, okay, I need help. I need a little talk therapy. And they get those like BetterHelp and stuff like that where you can
do
just
it through texting.
And that's pretty handy. If you need it, it's easy. You don't have to go drive somewhere and be weird.
Right.
So those are like great resources. But as a whole, between like pharmaceutical companies, the government, healthcare, insurance companies, it's like we've done worse and worse and worse at it.
Yeah. And there's, you know, and I know great strides are being made in communities as far as, you know, having mental health professionals, licensed clinicians, you know, riding with designated officers for mental health calls, you know, having crisis teams to come out to mental health calls and such. So it is getting better, but how do we stop that cycle? Because they're stuck in that. It's it's the constant, and now they've become, they're in the system and they're on the hamster wheel. And how do we get them off of the hamster wheel?
Yeah,
Destigmatizing the destigmatization.
That's a weird one. I don't even know how I said it the first time.
It's like word salad.
I can't say it again.
Just go with word salad.
Destigmatization.
Yes.
There we. Oh man.
You got it twice.
No.
In Fuego, number 3.
I don't even know if I'm saying it right.
I've
said it. I've said it twice, and now it doesn't make sense anymore.
Now you're thinking about it too hard.
Yeah. So to leave out on maybe like kind of a weird or a funny note, I guess I would wonder this, because you've heard a lot of people say a lot of stuff and tell a lot of stories in the years you've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You already kind of get where I'm going. What is the weirdest thing anyone's ever told you about? There has to be something that sticks out to you. It's like, what the fuck? Like where you're sitting there as their provider and they're telling you this, and maybe you're trying to keep the straight face, but you're like, holy fucking what?
Okay.
You got one.
Oh my God, I do. So working in mental health and wraparound services. So we had our own caseloads, but if someone came in crisis, obviously whoever was on would go and see them. So everybody was busy. So I'm like, gosh, because you just hear stories. We have our, meetings every day. And so we know these characters and such. And it's like, well, and they're saying that they're in crisis. And I'm like, okay, gotta catch up on my notes. Like, ugh. I'm like, okay, I'll be right out. So we go into one of the offices in there, and he's pacing around, and he has a trench coat on, and one of the golfing hats. So it's his usual kind of dress, and he was handicapped.
Like a flasher. A trench coat and a
That would be your
hat.
first thought, yes. That would definitely be your first thought. And he was handicapped, so he had lost part of his arm. So he comes in there, and he's like, I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated, and I can't believe I'm in this crisis right now. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, what happened? What happened that has you this activated? And he's like, well, I just, I'm trying to be patient, and I'm trying to be a good boyfriend and stuff, but my lady won't have sex with me.
Okay.
I said, that's a crisis.
It's a crisis.
He's like, yeah. I don't think I should have to masturbate if I have a girlfriend. I'm like, okay. He was face red. He
believed it.
He was in belief.
He believed it.
Believing he was in a mental health crisis.
To him, he was. That's a hell of a thing.
He was, and I can't believe. And then I'm like, every time I feel like I always think I'm done having the healthy masturbation talk. I always think I'm done with that.
What's the healthy masturbation talk?
Well, because, that can be an addiction also.
Yeah.
Masturbation, to where, you're rubbing yourself raw and such. So people who compulsively masturbate, these are questions we have to ask and everything, well, and is it disrupting your day? Oh no, so what's healthy, what's not? Okay, well, you're not saying, no, I'm going to be late to work. No, I can't go to the kids' but like, it's not interrupting your day. You're not physically harming yourself. You're fine. It's healthy. It's natural. You're fine.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
Well, it is. It's a healthy, natural part of life. And people are like, what?
Yeah.
What do you think they did to women years ago in the cold ages when they had presented with hysteria?
Oh, yeah.
They masturbated them.
That movie.
That was a real thing.
That was weird that they were that dumb.
It was, look at this.
Like, women don't have orgasms. I know this. Like that's what the medical community thought.
Just
No
oblivious.
such thing. We're not going to talk about it.
Right.
And some guy invents a vibrator.
And now any woman with psychosis, here you go.
Hey.
I mean, it's just it's wild. That's
a weird story though. I like the face red. She won't.
She won't.
Man, I should not. Was he older?
This was population, but probably between my age and your age.
Okay.
So older like mid-age population, I'd say.
Hey, I'm not old.
No. Well, you're younger than I am.
Yeah, true.
I've upgraded to vintage. You're still classic.
Oh no. I heard classic rock was like Metallica, like oldies. They're playing like
I know.
Freaks me out. Stuff from the 80s is oldies. It freaks me out.
I know. But that's what I still jam out to, so.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. This was a good time.
Yeah, it's an enlightening conversation. Hopefully everyone, learned something and got some stories out of it. But
I hope so, and the education is free.
Yeah.
Donate some time.
Yeah.
Harry Chapin does great stuff in the community with the food banks and everything. Check out volunteering.
Yeah.
It takes a community. It really does to take care of the community. And it is time that the community starts working together and really, starts helping out those that are vulnerable.
Well, and even from a selfish perspective, a lot of times if you're having a problem with, maybe some anxiety or depression, a good thing to do is to go help other people.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people aren't your thing. The animal shelters.
Yeah.
They are always looking for volunteers.
There's a lot of people that were like drug addicts or having problems and recovered, and they end up working with animals. It's incredible. But that's a path to recovery. That's a path to your own.
It's also a form of kind of like you could do therapy with someone with antisocial personality disorders to have them take care of an animal. Will open up that little Grinch little thing. And
Grinch heart.
When it opens, they've learned now compassion because they've taken care of this. I said, in some prisons, they do that where they'll let them have, obviously earned, but to have that. And a lot of them have programs that the offenders can work towards as far as training dogs.
That seems
so
like
help
a good idea.
Train dogs.
That seems like a really good idea.
And they go like to the next level. So they're service animals. And it really does help those individuals with antisocial personality disorder learn the compassion.
Yeah.
And there was a gentleman that I did work with in the prison, and he was training. He had his dog he was training, and pretty horrific crimes. He knew he was going to die there.
Yeah.
He said, I always loved my wife. He said, I would have done anything for her in the world. He said, until I started working with this dog, I'm going to die when I have to give this dog, when this dog moves on to its next training place.
Yeah.
So he went from this hardened murderer to
Loving a dog.
Understanding the pain that he put victims through, and his wife who stood by his side. So, there are ways.
Yeah. Huh. It's really interesting. Well, thank you. Thank you again for coming in and sharing.
This was a blast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks for tuning in to everyone out there. Catch us next time. Hope you've enjoyed. Until then, stay out of trouble. We'll see you in church. Thanks.